Hey everybody, Matthew here with the American Heritage Museum. During World War II, armored vehicles were separated into many different classes, such as light tanks, self-propelled guns, and tank destroyers. But what exactly did all of these different classes mean? Our main focus today will be on American vehicles and American definitions, but we will cover other nations' vehicles where and when applicable. Behind me here is the M5A1 Stuart, one of the most well-known American light tanks. A light tank is designed to perform reconnaissance duties, being able to probe the front lines, identifying possible weaknesses in the enemy's defenses. These vehicles are light and fast-moving, enabling them to get places that the larger, heavier tanks can't easily go. The armament of a light tank can vary heavily without stunting their ability to effectively perform their duties. For example, the Stuart has a 37mm cannon and three 30 caliber Browning machine guns. Whereas this, the German Panzer I, has only two MG13s and no cannon. Same goes for this, the British Vickers Mark 6A, carrying one 50 caliber machine gun and one Beza machine gun. Despite those differences, these three examples still perform the core responsibilities of a light tank, some better than others. Despite its heavily deconstructed state, you should be able to identify this vehicle behind me, the M4A1 Sherman, the staple American medium tank. The responsibility of a medium tank is to support the infantry, dealing with the many threats that infantry alone can't tackle, like light vehicles, bunkers, and machine gun nests. Though not designed to seek out and destroy other tanks, a medium tank should have the capabilities to deal with some enemy armor. The Sherman was a fantastic medium tank for its time, with 2 inches or 50mm of frontal armor sloped at 55 degrees, a 75mm cannon effective against both soft and hard targets, two 30 caliber Browning machine guns, and one 50 caliber Browning machine gun. And despite only weighing in at 33.4 tons combat loaded, by American interwar standards, this would be deemed a heavy tank, as would any other tank weighing over 30 tons. On the other hand, we have medium tanks like this, the German Panther, which has a high-velocity 75mm gun, best suited for penetrating armor, and weighs in at 49.4 tons combat loaded. For comparison, the German Panther is only 1.6 tons lighter than the 51-ton Soviet IS-2 heavy tank, which totes a 122mm cannon and just under 5 inches of frontal armor. This tank here is the M26A1 Pershing, the closest thing we have to an American heavy tank and a victim of poorly defined classification standards. By the American definition, a heavy tank is a tank that can withstand enemy anti-tank guns, whether towed or self-propelled, and be able to destroy enemy fortifications when breaking through front lines. Due to the abundant use of highly effective anti-tank weapons by the time the Pershing entered service, it no longer met the somewhat vague armor requirements to be a heavy tank by American standards, which is why by the end of World War II, it was reclassified down to a medium tank like this one. And honestly, a better example of an American definition heavy tank would be the British Matilda II in Australian service. The Australians extensively used the Matilda II Mark IV close support variant throughout the Pacific theater, which saw the stock ordnance quick-firing 2-pounder cannon replaced with an ordnance quick-firing 3-inch howitzer, which makes the tank check both boxes. It has armor thick enough to withstand most anti-tank guns fielded by the enemy, and a gun heavy enough to destroy enemy fortifications when breaking through front lines. Now, my first choice for an example of an American armored car would be the M8 Greyhound, But unfortunately, at the time of recording this, ours is in workshop timeout. And so as a substitute, we'll be taking a look at the M3 Scout car instead. The armored car was designed for light troop transport and fast armored reconnaissance, and in the American case, it was decided at the start of World War II that armored cars would be limited to a maximum weight of 8 tons. With that limit in place, it wasn't possible to have medium or heavy weight classes of armored car, which simplified the classification process down to: is it armored? Yes. Is it a car? Yeah. Fantastic. It's an armored car. Interestingly, there are armored cars with turrets and cannons, like the German SDKFZ 222, the M8 Greyhound, and the Daimler Mark II with its Ordnance 2-pounder. Up next, we'll be looking at this, the M18 Hellcat, a tank destroyer. Intended mostly to be employed defensively, a tank destroyer is designed to destroy tanks, mostly through ambush tactics. The Hellcat has a top speed of 50 miles per hour and a high-velocity 76mm cannon. Being a defensive weapon, designed with the hopes of not being shot at in the first place, armor is less of a concern, and so the M18 only has about a ½ inch of armor all the way around, much to the crew's dismay. Most American tank destroyers, the M18 Hellcat included, were turreted. This made target acquisition a bit easier and saved you from the possibility of having to reposition your vehicle if your target was out of your field of fire, like you would with this, the German Jagdpanzer 38T. Most German tank destroyers were casemate, meaning that the gun was mounted inside the hull with azimuth controlled by pivoting the gun side to side in its mount. This design feature does allow for a lower profile in some cases, but has the major limitation of a very constricted field of fire. Next up, we have the assault gun and the self-propelled gun. These two classes I'm kind of lumping together into one segment because, according to the US doctrine, their roles are very similar. The main differences lie in the ranges at which they operate. A vehicle like this, the M8 howitzer motor carriage, is an assault gun. These are more of a frontline unit operating just behind the lines, providing both direct and indirect fire support. For an example of a self-propelled gun, we have the M7B2 Priest. These are designed to be used farther from the front lines than an assault gun, with the intention of providing indirect fire support. Another example of an assault gun is the German Sturmgeschütz III. These vehicles were originally fitted with a low-velocity 75mm cannon best suited for supporting infantry in direct frontline combat. The Sturmgeschütz was designed for direct fire, which is when you can see the target you are firing at. To circle back to the M7 Priest, this is designed for indirect fire, which is when you cannot see your target due to a hill or some kind of obstacle in your way, but still have the capabilities to fire at it. This can be as mild as having your target just a ½ mile away, just over the crest of a hill where you can't see them, or as extreme as having a dense forest, several large hills and valleys, and about 5 miles between you and your target. Interestingly, though the Sturmgeschütz was an assault gun for infantry support, by this variant, the Ausführung G, it had its original howitzer replaced with a 75mm high-velocity anti-tank gun derived from the PaK-40. Despite this change of armament, the classification and use of the Sturmgeschütz stayed the same as an assault gun.
Anti-aircraft units have turned to field artillery.
Behind me here is the M16 multiple gun motor carriage representing self-propelled anti-aircraft. The role of SPAA is incredibly simple: drive somewhere and shoot down planes. In American service, these were designated to protect mechanized convoys from air attacks, but were also used wherever mobile anti-aircraft support was needed. However, when aerial targets got sparse, it wasn't uncommon for anti-aircraft vehicles like this to be used against light vehicles, fortifications, and infantry.
Pushing the Germans back.
Now for just a couple of honorable mentions. This is the half-track. This is effectively a truck with tracks in place of its rear wheels. These bridge the gap between an armored car and a tank and were most often used as troop transports, but they could be modified into just about anything like a tank destroyer or self-propelled anti-aircraft. And lastly, we have the amphibious tracked vehicle, or AMTRAC for short. This is effectively a floating tank or floating armored personnel carrier, depending on the variant, and these were especially useful in the Pacific theater of World War II, where a lot of coral reefs were encountered that would beach a standard landing craft like this LCVP, better known as the Higgins boat. An important thing to keep in mind is that war is not just vehicle versus vehicle. The main fighting force of any nation is the infantry, and every armored vehicle is designed to support that infantry one way or the other. Tanks do this directly with their cannon and machine guns. Tank destroyers do this by destroying the enemy's tanks, thus making the battlefield safer for the infantry. And self-propelled guns do this by destroying the enemy fortifications that could pose a threat to their infantry. And even in this video, as I'm describing the roles and responsibilities of a certain vehicle class, in every single one of those, I could have thrown in and support the infantry. And it would still be correct. That's still a part of their responsibilities because that's a part of the responsibilities of any armored vehicle ever. So on that note, I hope you enjoyed this topic and this video. If so, please consider liking the video and even subscribing, as it really does help us out a lot. And in the meantime, I'm Matthew with the American Heritage Museum. Thank you for watching.